Welcome to So Many Receipts. I'm Shelley Seddon.
And I'm Fleur Michelle.
And we're two entertainment journos based in Sydney, Australia who love to analyse and talk about all things reality TV and pop culture.
In Deep Dive, we go all in on stuff we're dying to know about, plus chats you won't want to miss.
Welcome to our special and just like that deep dive, which we jokingly call, I couldn't help but wonder, what the hell have they done to this show? So this is actually the final ep in the series because, and just like crap, this shit show is over.
Okay, hang on. That's purely your own opinion. Hold up. I actually liked this series more than you did. And I thought that this final episode, which just airs, was actually quite sweet.
Well, I think they deserve all of the shit analogies for including a disgusting overflowing toilet in the final episode. And last week we suspected the show was actually canceled, and the statements from Sarah Jessica Parker and Michael Patrick King were allowing them to save face, because I can't actually believe they thought this would be a wonderful place to end the series. Are you kidding me? Prim and pearl clutching SJP would not want the final ep to have a toilet full of turds floating around. I mean, wouldn't you want to say that you were canceled instead of trying to pass this off as your final series show?
But I don't think they necessarily meant it to end here forever. I think what they did is hedge a bet each way with this ending. I think they thought, let's see what the ratings do during this season's run. If everyone loves it and it's clear everyone wants another series, let's leave things a little ambiguous with the final episode so we can carry over to next season. Or else, if people don't like it, then there's just enough loose ends tied up to signify that this is the actual, possibly the end of the series forever.
Right.
But the overflowing toilet in Miranda's house, that was a scene that we just didn't need. I thought that was really strange, actually. Just because we can all relate to that scenario doesn't mean we need to see it. And, you know, I didn't think we needed to see Guiseppe and Anthony having sex in the last episode either. There was a few things, a few missteps in the last few episodes.
Well, I think it's like a real housewife denying she's had work done. Just be honest. It's so easy to find out the truth these days. And I have to say, the Writers' Room podcast made no mention that this was the end of the series. The original trailer for the last episode, it said season finale, not series finale. The costume people weren't told the show was ending. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
I just feel like this was a last minute thrown together mishmash, passed off as a series finale. And also, there are reports that SJP was seething after HBO canceled the show.
So I'm a bit confused. Is it official that HBO has come out and said that they wanted the show cancelled? So Sarah Jessica didn't do a Jax Taylor from the Valley and pulled the plug first to save face in the anticipation that it might be cancelled?
No, so it wasn't announced publicly, but an inside source told journalist Rob Shooter, HBO told her, but it wasn't a conversation. It was just, we're done. There was no discussion, no collaboration. It was just final. And according to Radar Online, SJP was fuming, and now she's pitching everything from a spin-off to a limited series at other streamers. And she's also demanding full creative control. So who knows? This may not be the last we've seen of Carrie and company after all.
Oh, okay. Look, I do admire SJP for remaining loyal to the cause in the face of outrage, public outrage. I could see them maybe doing a movie as a one-off, maybe in about 10 years' time. By that time, they'd all be 70 years old. Can you wrap your head around it? Like, how has life panned out for them all by that point? You know, that kind of would be interesting. I mean, I'm sure you won't like the movie either. Maybe no one would, but I'm loyal to the concept. I would watch with a little bit of an open mind, I think.
Well, it seems most of the cast were given like 1 to 2 short scenes to wrap up their entire storyline. So let's get all of the minor characters out of the way first.
Yeah, before we wrap up the only 3 main ones that we actually care about.
Yes. Well, starting with LTW, her doco is still not finished after 8 years, but she did get Michelle Obama to narrate, as I predicted, and Marion, the hot editor, was back, and they decided not to cross the line. So my prediction that he turns out to be gay and their attraction is all just this crazy misunderstanding didn't eventuate.
Yes, so you owe me a cheap drink because I won that bet. I didn't think he would turn out to be gay. However, I was surprised in this episode that he said he was married. Did he mention that before?
Yes.
So I missed that.
Yeah, he said he was married, but I thought, it might be to a man.
Oh, right.
So, but on the Writers Room podcast, they did say, what are the ways to get her out of this situation? And they actually were going to make him gay.
Oh, so it was floated.
Yes. But they decided just to go with two colleagues who were attracted to each other, but decided not to cross the line. And it was all about how marriage is about choosing your person again and again. So Lisa chooses Herbert, who has decided to stop being a sore loser about his bloody comptroller campaign. Boring.
So I thought that this was a logical wrap-up for this couple, whose storyline we never needed, because they were always depicted as being solid, and so now they just back to being solid and choosing each other again. The end. LTW was lovely and pretty, but totally unnecessary in this series.
Yes. So then we have Seema and Adam Karma. And once again, Adam is naked. And they're now at the stage in their relationship where Adam feels comfortable enough peeing in front of Seema. So too soon. Like my husband and I don't even do that. No. For some random reason, there was this elaborate wedding fashion show staged. And it gets Seema thinking about marriage. And Adam is against marriage, but later tells Carrie that Seema is a keeper.
See, this sudden yearning of hers to be married surprised me. Like, she's in her late 50s and she's this feisty, independent woman. So this is still a want of hers. Like, why not just live together? I thought she was the kind of character that wouldn't care about that. I think if the series had gone on, it would have been more logical for them to not be married.
Yes.
And I think Seema was an okay substitute for the wild type of Samantha character. They shared some similarities. Again, I don't think she needed to be a regular. I think they should have just made her and LTW dip in and out and come up with more storylines for the actual three main characters.
Yeah. So on to Anthony and Guiseppe. Their ending was a super short scene where Guiseppe convinces Anthony he doesn't want another mommy, he wants a zaddy. And he shoves a cream pie in Anthony's face to prove his point.
So what happened to Giuseppe's old mum?
I guess she went back to Italy.
Patti LuPone. She just sort of disappeared. Anyway, I like that Anthony got his hot young lover. Happy ending in the end. He had some funny bitchy lines in this season, which is always what the Anthony character was.
Yeah, after the Stanford debacle, they had to make him have a happy ending.
Yeah.
And over at Miranda's, Joy has now added her name to the long list of cancellations. And Miranda thinks Joy's just avoiding this whole dysfunctional family dynamic. But Carrie encourages her to actually have a conversation with Joy before jumping to any conclusions, because Carrie is so good at communicating in relationships.
Yeah, that's a joke, right?
Yes, definitely.
So, yeah, what our analysis of Miranda, I mean, she finds out that Joy's dog is really unwell and Miranda dashes to the vet's office to support her. That leaves Carrie alone with an aspiring chef, Brady, who is cooking Thanksgiving lunch. Miranda has invited Brady's baby mama, Mia, and she shows up with two friends, Epcot, named after the Disney Center, and another guy. Bit of an odd scene.
Yeah, and they didn't ask about dietary requirements. Like, fair enough, they should have done that because everyone has dietary requirements these days. But it is very awkward in new generation versus old generation. And then we have Mark Kasabian, who, like, no one remembers who he is, but he's the older man from Charlotte's gallery who randomly shows up, and he was there to be set up with Carrie, which was Charlotte's idea.
And just getting back to the three young guests, a lot of people on Reddit lines and forums really hated the scene with those three young people in it. They just thought they were really out of place, and I kind of agreed. But back to Mark Kasabian, for a moment when he first arrived, I was like, oh my God, is this who they're going to make Carrie go into the sunset with? This old guy, is it going to be like my true love was under my nose the whole time? But then we find out that he's actually a little creepy, even though he was never creepy in any of his other scenes.
Exactly. And he has a private plane.
And he seemed like a nice man.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that, Carrie doesn't actually like him. But does Charlotte still not know after 30 years what her type is,
apparently
what Carrie's
not.
type is?
Yeah. So, well, apparently not. And we also see Steve for the final time. And I had an issue with the storyline because he has a nice scene with Miranda and they discuss the Brady situation, and he says he's not coming to Thanksgiving. But if he's adamant that they will be involved in their grandchild's life, wouldn't he make the effort to try and get to know Mia?
Plot hole alert.
Yeah.
I have to say, I love David Eigenberg, who plays Steve, because when he talks, it's just like the familiar, funny character of old. Apart from making him half deaf, at least they didn't mess with his character too much.
Yeah. And I also have an issue with Mia saying she was going to have an abortion until she found out the baby was going to be a double Libra, which is such an effing vibe. So I looked it up. Libras are born around September 23rd to October 22nd. This is now the end of November. Thanksgiving. I don't know why I continue to expect continuity from this show.
Oh, good plot hole alert spotting. I also looked it up because I thought, what is a double Libra?
Yeah.
And it's when you've got both the sun and the moon
Yeah.
in your star sign, so you're kind of fiery but calm or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't connect the dots with the star sign reference in the actual show.
Well, so Miranda returns home from the vet's office and there's this awkward lunch, which we don't even see. And after all of the drama of getting Mia to this lunch, there isn't one scene with Brady or Miranda talking to her about the baby. And instead, we have her friend Epcot, who's lactose intolerant, partaking in the cheese plate, which sparks digestion issues and results in them polluting the bathroom. So this leads to the overflowing toilet and Miranda having to clean up this whole mess. And Joy comes over to join Miranda for pie, and they embrace on the floor of the shitty toilet. What a lovely way to end that storyline.
See, I don't think we saw her talking about the baby because I didn't know the show was going to end at that point. That's my theory. Like, that's why it was kind of open-ended. Well, look, it was at least nice that Miranda, the love cynic, one of the characters who always got the best sarcastic lines in the old Sex and the City series, who actually didn't get that many funny lines in this whole new series. It was nice that she supposedly found her true love in Joy, although I was wrong in thinking that she and Joy would break up before the end of the season. I kept wondering, what's the reason going to be? But I guess there just wasn't enough episodes to even flesh that out.
Yeah. And so with Charlotte, the Goldenblatts have decided to stay home for Thanksgiving, per Harry's request. And watching Charlotte baste the turkey apparently gives Harry his first hard-on since his prostate cancer operation.
So I felt there wasn't much we could actually say about Charlotte in this season because out of her, Carrie and Miranda, I felt Charlotte's character was the least changed and the most like her old character, which was just sweet, ditzy, unintentionally funny, always wanting to be just married and a mum. Like, what else could you say about her, really?
Yeah. Well, apparently her vertigo is under control. Her hallway has new wallpaper. And as we mentioned in a previous episode, Christian Davis has a clause in her contract that Charlotte and Harry are never to split up. So it makes sense that they had a happy ending.
Yeah, and, I am happy about that. I'm fond of this character. I'm glad she supposedly got her happy ending. Harry seems recovered from the cancer. Let's hope nothing bad happens to them in the mythical future.
Yes, so meanwhile, Carrie, our heroine, supposedly, she does a runner for Miranda's turkey dinner and goes back to her mansion alone. So the writers said it was always the plan for her to end up alone. And I found this whole ep underwhelming, yet another missed opportunity. But what saved me from hating it was the fact that they didn't have her flying off to England to meet up with Duncan or having any glimpse of a man in her future.
Why? I wanted that to happen. That was my feeling. You didn't want that to happen?
Not right away rebound.
Oh, okay. So my prediction was that we'd see her texting Duncan saying she's coming over to the UK for a visit, and then another text to Samantha saying, hey, I'm going to be in town, want to meet up and talk, and that they'd finally mend their falling out. But I was wrong.
Well, in the Sex and the City finale, it was all about her girlfriends being the loves of her life, and what if we're each other's soulmates? And so they were never going to top that because that was epic. But that solid friendship dynamic just wasn't there in this series. They didn't even have a single scene with all of the women together in the finale.
Yeah, that's true. But we did see Charlotte and Miranda and even Anthony. They all found their true loves. So why not Carrie? It actually made me feel sad for her.
Yeah, well, the writers said they wanted her to be empowered and show that it's not tragic for a woman to end up on her own.
I agree it's not, but I don't think she was, because I don't think she ever wanted to be alone, and she just looks sad to me.
Yeah, I just wish she would have leaned into being single and rocked it instead of being so weird and having to eat with a Tommy Tomato doll. Like, I eat in restaurants by myself, I travel by myself, I go to movies by myself. I give 0 Fs. So she was so self-conscious and woe is me, like it's the end of the world.
Because she was sad and she was depressed all series. You're not in her position of being a 60-year-old woman suddenly on her own in New York.
But
so can't you empathise?
With
what?
means. She has means.
Yeah,
she's rich.
but she doesn't want to be alone. Like, she's had this, she finally finds Mr. Big and then he just drops dead off his bike. His exercise bike, and then she has this awful relationship with Aiden, and then Duncan, her fling, just kind of disappears. I don't blame her for being sad.
Take an antidepressant and go on a trip. Go to a spa.
Okay.
But so I don't think Carrie will be alone for long. That's the whole thing. But she needs to be single for a hot minute after Aiden. Just this moment in time, take a beat. So I have no doubt that when Carrie is on a book tour or Duncan's on a book tour, they will hook up for scotch and sex when they are in the same city. So my dream ending would have been Charlotte or Miranda saying, "Don't you think you're going to be just fine?" And Carrie saying, "Abso-fucking-lutely." Big's favorite word.
Okay, well, that would have been a better line to end it on. But again, I don't think they knew it was going to end.
Yeah.
So, I always loved Carrie in Sex and the City, but I liked the older Carrie less in all of the And Just Like That seasons. I'll still always have fondness for some of her witty lines and the character she was, but she became quite a problematic person and sort of hard work for me, whereas Miranda and Charlotte were, for the most part, just themselves.
Yeah, I think the problem was that the character was getting less like Carrie and more like SJP.
Yeah, that is a good point, actually. And should you do that? Should actresses blend their own selves into characters?
Absolutely not.
Like, why do people do that sometimes? Yeah, it's not about them. But anyway, I know you weren't a fan of this series at all and that you're relieved it's over. I didn't think it was the greatest TV. It wasn't great writing or great story development. Plus, the first And Just Like That season, I thought that one was the worst.
Yeah.
It was so post-pandemic woke. It was ludicrous. And then in this season, there were just too many mistakes with all the many plot hole fails that we've uncovered. I found it less offensive than the first one. I kind of feel it got its straps a little bit. So the way this was what I did to cope with this, the pressure of watching this every week. I sort of began watching this series as if it was a separate series to Sex and the City. So if you pretended that Sex and the City never existed, I feel it was an okay watch. I think the problem was that it was almost impossible to do that without remembering that Sex and the City had existed.
Yeah.
And so you were constantly comparing the two. I also think it should not have been 30 minutes long and been more comedy and not so glum and serious. But I personally did not think it was terrible, and I did like it for the fashions, and I did get a few laughs out of it, etc. So I'm sad because I'm a sentimental person, and these characters and this show, right from the old Sex and the City days, has actually been a huge part of my pop culture life.
Yeah, well, that's why it was so upsetting to me, because the show and the characters were iconic and they were sacred to me, and I just felt like they were ruining the essence of the show, and it could have been done so much better. I mean, we thought of better storylines.
Yes, we did, actually. We should rewrite the whole thing and sell it to HBO or someone else. So I'm much more into realities and true life stories, as we all know, and this series for 27 years has actually been the only drama series that I have ever been invested in. I still remember being in the office of New Weekly magazine way back in 1998, and I saw a cast photo for the very first time of the four of them, because another writer had written up a piece saying there's high hopes for this new HBO comedy drama series about four single women in their 30s dating in New York. And it landed on my desk to edit. And I was a single woman in my 20s here in Sydney, and I was like, oh, I can relate to this. I hope this is good. I've never heard of HBO. I don't know what that channel is, but I hope this is good. So those episodes, if you watch them now, they actually have barely dated. It's still so sharp and funny and relatable.
Yeah, well, I was living in San Francisco, and I went over to a friend's house, and they had the show on, and I didn't have HBO, so I'd never seen it. And it was the episode with the rabbit, which is the vibrator. And I was like, what are you watching? And I'd never seen women talking about sex and vibrators, and it was hysterical. And when I got back home, I immediately signed up for HBO. I might have to watch that episode just for old time's sake.
Yeah, I actually do care about these characters as if they're real people. How funny, right? And I actually do hope that maybe there's one more movie when they're old ladies and we get to see the final chapter. It probably won't be great if they did that. But whatever they do, I'm a loyal viewer and I'm going to go along for the ride.
Well, I'm along for the ride as well, for better or for worse, because I can't quit these bitches. and just like that, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to our deep dive into the series finale of And Just Like That.
And as that was our last episode in this series, you can go back and listen to each of our 12 deep dive recaps if you haven't already. And if you actually didn't watch the TV show, there's no need because we watched it so you didn't have to.